Blog Talk Radio.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Laurie Smith on Blog Talk Radio. Good evening. It is Wednesday night, November the 10th, and it's 9:30 p.m. here in Calgary, Alberta. This is Child Abuse Prevention and Human Rights Abuse Prevention is Up to Us, 30-minute live internet streaming radio broadcast from blogtalkradio.com. And I popped a link into the chat room that I wanted to talk about tonight. I want to finish up this article. This website it's a good website regarding taking a stand against family violence, and that's what it's called, Take a Stand Against Family Violence. There's all kinds of great information on there about, domestic violence, domestic abuse, teen dating violence, child abuse, etc. It's an all-inclusive article, and I really like it. There's a fact sheet on there you can download, and really some good information. So I hope everybody will go check that out, and I'll give you the link here as well. I'll give it to you here in a second. So, yeah, thanks, everybody, for tuning into my shows. I really appreciate it. And, my shows are very sensitive, and I talk about all the issues related to abuse, domestic violence, everything to do with abuse and human rights abuses, child abuse, etc. So my shows are pretty sensitive, so you have to listen at your own discretion, and you have to you have to know what's good for you to listen to, right? Make that decision for yourself and listen at your own discretion. Young people under the age of 18, I don't know how young the people are that are listening to my shows, but young people under the age of 18, I just ask that you have someone listen to my shows with you so they can help you make the decision whether you should be listening, because my shows have a lot of adult content on them, and I'm the Canada Regional Director for Dreamcatchers for Abused Children, and we stand up to protect children's rights, right? We're standing up to try to save children's lives and try to say, stop child abuse, right? So you have to be very careful when you're online. And young people need to know that, there's some good information out there on websites on how to keep yourself safe, right? So you just type into your browser, Internet Safety for Children, Online Safety, Internet Safety, right? And it'll bring you to websites, and you can pull up these websites and learn how to keep yourself safe online, right? There's so many things you need to do to protect yourself. Parents, you need to protect your children, and everybody needs to know that the Internet, is a dangerous place. And that you have to be very careful what you're doing online, especially young people, right? Children need to be protected at all times, and, you need to protect yourself, young people. So if you're listening to this, make sure you do have an adult listen to the show with you just to make sure that it's something that you should be listening to, right? So thanks, everybody, for tuning in. I really appreciate it. We're looking at www.vcds.forces.gc.ca. So www.vcds.forces.gc.ca. And that is, I'll give you the actual name of the website here, National Defense and the Canadian Forces, www.forces.gc.ca. This is called Take a Stand Against Family Violence Fact Sheets. Violence says you can make a difference, right? There's all kinds of fact sheets on here and stuff. Great information. We've already gone through most of it. I wanted to look at the last part of it, which was that we haven't talked about yet, and that's the teen dating violence. And we went through the domestic abuse and violence, the child abuse, etc. But I wanted to take a look here at teen dating violence. And it's very important because this is going on. It does happen. And so many people in society like to think, there's just no such thing, or it's not that big of a deal. It really is. It's just another form of domestic abuse, domestic violence. It's its own entity, and it's very sad. And teens need to know how to protect themselves from this, and that there is help out there for you if you are experiencing teen dating violence and abuse, right? No one has the right to abuse anyone. No adult has the right to abuse another adult. And no adult has the right to abuse a child. And no teen has the right to abuse another teen. No teen has the right to abuse another adult. And no teen has the right to abuse a child, right? I mean, this is very basic, elementary. You think that we could stop this because it's so basic. It's just like no one has the right to abuse anyone. We all have rights. We have human rights. Children have child rights. And unless we stand up and use our voices and use our own, whatever within our own abilities and capabilities to stop violence and stop abuse, right? Then these rights are just not upheld, right? So that's the whole issue. We all have rights, and no one should be being abused, right? And teens especially need to know that teen dating violence is absolutely, it does happen, and it's sad. They might have grown up in these good homes where, you might have a teen who grew up in a home that was just awesome, and then they get into this relationship with this other teen, whether it's a girl or a guy, and it starts out good, and then all of a sudden it becomes abusive, right? And they might think, well, maybe it's me. There's all kinds of things about, regarding abuse that the other partner will make them feel like it's their fault, or, if they weren't behaving a certain way, they wouldn't have to hurt them or do these things to them. And there's actually you can't take responsibility for that. It's always the abuser's choice in every case, whether it's child abuse, domestic violence and abuse, teen dating violence, whatever it is. It's the abuser's choice to abuse. They're choosing to do what they're doing, and it's not a loss of control. It's a means of control. And so that's what it's very, very important for people to know this, and that it doesn't have anything to do with your behavior. It has everything to do with the fact that the abuser is trying to control the situation and abusing in order to do it. So that's the thing. It has literally nothing to do with what anyone would do, a child, a teen, or another adult. It's always the abuser's choice. They have the choice to not abuse, but they sadly enough don't, for whatever reason, don't do the right thing, and people are abused, right? So this is very sad. So the section I want to look at, this last section, is early warning signs of dating violence. And it says, are you going out with someone who, and they list a whole bunch of stuff here that you can go through this if you go to this link and you can read through these things. I'm just reading right from the page. This is stuff that, if you can kind of see if you're going out with someone who is abusive, right? And this is what happens within these dating violence situations, right? So it says, are you going out with someone who is jealous and possessive, won't let you see other friends, checks up on you, or won't accept breaking up, justifies these behaviors by saying that he or she acts this way because they love you so much, right? So are you going out with someone who pressures you to have sex and thinks of women and girls as sex objects, or even, in the case of a girl being abusive, because women and girls can be abusers too, right? Anyone can be an abuser. So, pressuring you to have sex and thinking of them as a sex object, tries to make you feel guilty by saying, if you really loved me, you would, do this or do that, right? Gets too serious about the relationship too quickly, right? Are you going out with someone who tries to control you by being very bossy, criticizing the way you dress, talk, dance, making all the decisions and ignoring your opinions? Are you going out with someone who is violent, has a history of fighting, a bad temper, or brags about mistreating others? Are you going out with someone who abuses drugs or alcohol and pressures you to take them? Are you going out with someone who blames you when he or she mistreats you? Puts the blame on you, right? Are you going out with someone who has a history of bad relationships, blames the other person, right? And are you going out with someone who believes that men should be in control and women should be submissive? Are you going out with someone who is described by friends or family members as scary or dangerous? These are questions that young people can ask themselves to see just exactly what kind of person they are dating and who they're going out with and how their behavior is. And these are very important questions because it's a sign of abuse. It's a sign of abusive behavior, right? And if they are doing these things to you, it is abuse, and just so that people know this. Feeling sorry for him, they say here, feeling sorry for him doesn't change his behavior or her behavior, right? Instead, and the reason they say that is because so many times people will hurt people, and then they will say, whether it's an adult or a teen or someone who's abusing someone, they'll hurt someone, and then they'll get you to feel sorry for them. They'll tell you some sort of sob story like, well, I didn't mean to hurt you, and it's just that I've been, I've got my own problems, and I've been abused myself, or they'll come up with just about any excuse to try to get you to feel sorry for them, whether it's a woman or a man, and they will get you to feel sorry for them so that way they can get you on their side again, say. So they said feeling sorry for them, for him right here, that's what they say, but it should be him or her. Feeling sorry for him or her doesn't change their behavior. Instead, learn to recognize the warning signs. So if it feels scary, it's abuse. Abuse can be emotional, verbal, sexual, mental, or physical. And whatever form it takes, you do not deserve to be treated that way. That is just so important. I'm just reading right from the page here. That is so important to know, that no one deserves to be abused. No one deserves to be treated that way. No one deserves to be emotionally abused, verbally abused, sexually abused, mentally abused, or physically abused. It doesn't matter what form it takes. You do not deserve to be treated that way. And I'm a survivor, and I've survived all of that. So I know, firsthand what this is all about. and at the hands of my parents, child abuse and secondhand domestic violence, right, and abuse. Decide what is best for you. Set your own limits, stick to them, and feel good about taking charge of your life. So, people who are in these relationships with abusive people, right, it's really a good idea to think about what you need for yourself, and not, and not become kind of just only looking at the other person and saying, well, what do they need? What are their needs, right? It's very important for you to know what your own needs are and set your limits, set your boundaries, know what your boundaries are and what you will put up with and what you won't put up with, and take charge of your life. And especially, I'm telling you, that it's so incredibly sad, domestic violence and abuse, and especially when, you see teens involved in this situation, they're really just setting themselves up for a life of abuse, right? And it's very, very sad. I've seen it. I witnessed it with a lot of my friends when I was growing up, a lot of my teen friends who were in these relationships who were abusive. And these teen friends of mine were also abused as children. So they were abused as children, and then they were in these teen dating violence situations. And then eventually they moved in together. They didn't get married, but they moved in together as partners and then continued to abuse each other, and was just very violent, very vicious domestic abuse, domestic violence situation. So I saw this in my own home as well as with my friends' lives. And, it's absolutely horrible what people will put up with. They don't realize that they should not be abused in any way. They should not be called names. They should not be sexually abused or assaulted. They should not be mentally abused. They should not be physically abused. No one has the right to hit people, slap people, punch people, kick people. No one has the right to sexually use you, to force you to do things you don't want to do, to force you to have sex when you don't want to have sex. No one has the right to mentally abuse you, to make you feel like you're crazy or that you don't deserve anything good because you're just so bad. Or, I grew up like this, so I know. No one has the right to emotionally abuse you, to make you feel so worthless that you just don't count, you don't matter, they do, and their needs come first, right? That is so incredibly wrong. You have to know what your boundaries are, and when someone crosses the line, and you would notice, because you'd be like, that person did something that totally goes against what I believe, how I should be treated. They're either hitting me, or they're, I'm just using examples, or they're calling me names, talking about killing themselves or me, very violent, destructive, abusive behavior. A lot of people will tolerate that and will sit there and think, they won't set boundaries and think, I don't deserve to be treated like that. No one does. And then do something about it and get some help, right? That's the next thing here that they said. Get some help and support for yourself. They said you are not to blame for his or her behavior. Find a person you trust and respect and share your problem. The right person for you should be a friend, doctor, crisis line worker, or staff person at a women's shelter. Here they said the MFRC, but that's because this is a military website. But this is all information that's good elsewhere as well, right? Tell someone, get some help, right? Check the front pages of your telephone book for emergency numbers. If you there's lots. I've checked my phone book, and there's just tons and tons of numbers in mine. But I live in a big city. But people who live in rural areas, there might not be that many. But if you have access to a computer or you have access to the internet, you can get online and find like the National Coalition Against Domestic Violence. There's RAIN. There's Child Help. There's all kinds of websites out there who have these crisis lines, 24-hour lines that are manned, that you can phone and you can report abuse, or you can report whether if you're being abused, and you can talk to somebody who can help you get some information that will help you to stay alive, to keep yourself alive, first of all, to help you to make decisions that you need to make, just to give you some information about what your options are, right? Very, very important. It says if you have told someone and that person wasn't helpful, keep trying until someone really listens to you. That is really important. A lot of people will say, I know, because I work, in this. I work with people, you know what I mean? I know survivors, and I know people who are going through this, and they'll say, well, I tried, I made phone calls, nobody wanted to help, and you have to keep trying. You have to keep trying. It is literally up to you to keep trying until somebody listens and somebody helps you. Because honestly, you might run into some people that just are not helpful. You might run into a situation where, it just wasn't the right information for you. So you have to keep trying. Keep making the phone calls. Keep reaching out. You can't try one time and then just give up. That's just too easy. And, I've seen people do it. They'll try one time to get help, and then they're like, oh, no, I didn't get help, so forget it. And they'll just they blow it off and they'll allow themselves to continue to be abused because they're so beaten down and so misused and so down that they just feel like the one time they tried was it, right? And for me, it's like, you know what? No, you have to keep trying. You have to keep trying, because that's how I live my life. I'm a survivor, and I had to keep trying to stay alive, right? And so I had to keep trying to not kill myself, right? Because I grew up horrifically abused, and you know, I wanted to take my own life. And at the age of 10 years old, I was really hoping that my parents would kill me. I used to tell them to go ahead and kill me because I was so tired, and I was so in so much pain, you know, in every way. So that's the thing, you know, so many people, I know that people are out there suffering like this, and they're thinking, you know, I tried one time to make a phone call and I didn't get the help that I needed, or I talked to someone and they weren't helpful, so I'm just going to bag it, I'm just going to forget it. You know, and that's not the answer. The answer is to keep going, and that's the answer that saved my life, and that's why I'm still here today and able to you know, to be a voice for people out here to say, you know what, you have to keep trying, because that's the only way you can do it. That's the only way it works. You can't give up on it. And, you know, you do deserve to have a good life if you are suffering in this, and, you know, you deserve to have a good life. You do not deserve to be mistreated in any way. And so make sure that you do get some help, even if it's talking to somebody, or just crisis line if you have to, because no one's around or whatever. I know so many times in our lives, you know, we don't have the support that we need within our own families, and that's my case. I grew up in a completely dysfunctional, you know, abusive family, so there is no support there with my family. So, you know, you reach out to a few friends. Some will help you, some won't. You know, you reach out to a few friends, and sometimes they act like they care, and then you find out that they really don't, or they weren't capable. Sometimes, you know, you might tell someone that, you know, you've been abused or that you are being abused, and it's too much for them, and they can't even deal with it, so they can't help you, you know. So you have to keep trying. You have to keep talking and keep reaching out until you find someone who can truly be that person for you to help you out, you know what I mean? So important. It says, here's the next section. If you think your friend is being abused, let's say you know someone, you know, or you think you know, like let's say you think your friend is being abused, right? Even if you don't know someone's being abused, but you just think they are. Here's some good information for this. It says, listen and believe her. They say here, keep what she tells you to yourself, right? So in other words, don't pass it around, don't spread it around. It says, if you're worried about her safety, tell her that together you need to tell someone who can help protect her, right? Just be a support, or him, right? Be a support person for them. Identify abusive behavior and talk about what is happening to her or him. Remind them that jealousy and possessiveness do not equal love. So if you think someone's being abused and it's your friend, you know, they don't even realize they're being abused, but because they might not recognize it. See, that's the whole issue. A lot of abuse, you know, people don't recognize it as being abused, especially if they grew up in a domestic violence situation, or they, you know, or they never experienced abuse. They might not really realize what it is, and so they might feel like that it's okay, right? And that abusive behavior is all right, and it's actually really not. And that's the whole issue. So, you know, it's good to talk to people and just let them know, hey, I'm here for you. And jealousy and possessiveness do not equal love. And, you know, there's little things, you know, that you can kind of tell people to sort of help them out. So tell her that or him that they do not deserve to be hurt. Tell them that they do not that they should not take the blame, right, for their behavior, for the abuser's behavior, and help them separate love and caring from abusive behaviors. Right, because so many times people will abuse people, and then comes the honeymoon stage again, right? In any relationship that can happen, right? You know, whether it's a marriage or boyfriend, girlfriend, or whatever, you know, there's this. The abusers will quite often hurt their partners, and then comes the apologies and the flowers and the I'm so sorry I hurt you, and it will never happen again, and you know they show this love and care again, and then they set you up for a cycle of abuse, right? So then what they do is once they do that, then they abuse you again, or this other people, right? And then they say, and they do it all over again. It's like, oh no, I'm sorry, it won't ever happen again, right? And this is a cycle they will keep people on. Abusers know exactly what they're doing, and they do it, you know, on purpose. It's something that it's a choice, and they always have the choice to not do that, but they do that because they want to be in complete control of you and the relationship, right? And so it's always, you know, I've been doing a lot of work on my One Child Abuse Survivor to another shows in the morning, talking about the issues of anger management and the whole issues of domestic violence and domestic abuse, and from this website called www.angerresources.com. And Dave Decker and Michael Obsath are the creators of that website. They're also therapists, and they handle this whole issue of domestic abuse and anger management. And, you know, they have a whole awesome. They have the website is full of articles about you know, what's going on in the abuser's minds. You know, and that abuse is not it's not a loss of control. It's actually the means to control. So they abuse because that's what they're going to do to control the situation, and they'll take it as far as they need to. Abusers will always take it as far as they need to make sure that they stay in control. So it's not that they're out of control, and they quite often will tell you, "I'm sorry I hit you," or "I'm sorry I beat you up," or whatever they're going to do. "I'm sorry I raped you, but you know I was out of control." They will say that, but that's not the truth at all. And so you don't deserve to be hurt. You know, no one deserves to be hurt. So if you know someone who's being abused, and like if you think your friend's being abused, like this article says, tell them that they do not deserve to be abused. That they shouldn't be taking the blame for the other person's behavior, and help them to separate love and caring from abusive behaviors. And then it says, don't tell them that they're wrong. So it says, if he or she wants to stay in the relationship, keep talking and challenging her denial and his abusive behavior, but don't tell them that they're wrong, because so many times I've seen this actually in real life, for real. Not too long ago, just a few months ago, people would always, you know, I know people in these situations, you know, domestic violence and abuse, trying to get out, trying to, you know, and of course, you know, they live across the world, so there's not much I can do but just be an ear and a shoulder, and try to get them resources. But the thing is I know somebody in this situation who just got out, but they had other people telling them, well, if you don't leave your husband or your, you know, I actually know other people too with their wives, right? So I know men and women who are both abused in domestic violence situations. To be like, if you don't leave your partner, you know, we're not going to talk to you. We won't be your friend, and stuff like this, right? And then this person would say to me, yeah, this is what so and so said, and it really hurt my feelings, and you know, I'd just be like, well, it's because they don't know. You know, they don't realize that they're just pushing you away and causing you to have one less outlet for you to get out, right? You just need to be supportive of the people and help them make the decisions that they need to make to get out. So in this article here, when you read through this article here from the CFPM, Take a Stand Against Family Violence, you can see they talk a whole lot about that as far up in the domestic violence portion of it. You know, that just, you know, if you really want to be that person and support this person through this and get them out of this abusive environment, you don't want to push them away by telling them, you know, things that can cause them to not want to be involved in a relationship with you in a friendship, because quite often they will shut down. So you want to just be there for them and just say, look, I'm going to help you find the resources. I'll be here. You're ready to go. You let me know, and I'll be here. And that's really the best thing that you can do. Continue to be their friend. It says, don't abandon her or him, even though at times you may feel frustrated and upset over her or his refusal to make changes or over the choices, right, that they're making, right, because they need you, right. So that's the thing. It says, don't abandon them, because it's so hard to watch somebody being abused and will not do anything about it. I mean, honest to God, it's hard, because you're sitting there, you're going, oh my God, save your life, get out, you know, and you want to tell them stuff that will shock them into getting out, you know, but in reality, they know, because they're living it. So, you know, whether they're being physically abused, psychologically abused, whatever, those people know that they're being abused, and they know that they want to get out, but yet, you know, they haven't made the decision to go yet. So they said, don't abandon them. You know, just be there for them, right? That's so important. Get new ideas on how to help your friend from people who understand about violence in relationships. Phone a crisis line or women's shelter. I think that's the best thing to do, is phone like a women's shelter, phone domestic, like the NCADV, the National Coalition Against Domestic Violence. You know, there's domesticviolence.org. There's all kinds of websites out there with great information and numbers that you can call. And all calls are treated confidentially, it says. And, you know, you can call and find out how to help your friend, right, from someone who is trained and knows all about this stuff, you know what I mean? And they can get information to you. They can point out things that you can do to help your friend, and it's just awesome. So yes, you know, get some help from people who are qualified, you know, to give that information, right? It says, increase your own understanding about violence. Read articles, listen to radio shows, watch TV programs that deal with the issue, attend awareness sessions about family violence, and this will help you if you are finding yourself getting angry and frustrated with your friend, right? Because it's just the more information we have, really that's what it is. It's all about education. You know, it's all about getting the information and then learning how we can fix this stuff and help people. This is the whole issue, and this is how I feel about the whole issue with child abuse. If we can get the information out to people, get the programs going, and get this whole thing out in the public where everybody is seeing it, everybody's looking at it, and everybody's talking about it, we can solve these problems. But as long as it's all pushed under the carpet and hidden behind closed doors, it will never change. And that's the issue. It's all about education. You bet it is. And it's all about the almighty dollar, too. If you think your friend is abusing his partner, let's say if you have a friend who's abusing his partner, and then, or her partner, let's say it's either way. You have a friend who is the abuser, right? It says, confront your friend and name abusive attitudes and behaviors when you see them. Jealousy and possessiveness are an early warning of abuse, or early warning of abuse. Confront your friend. Now, I'd be careful about doing that, especially if you know that this person is extremely abusive, and you've kind of seen the violence and you've seen what this person can do. Be very careful about that, for your own personal safety and really for the safety of the partner. Because sometimes people, if they find out that you know about the abuse and you confront them, then they will go home and abuse that person just because someone found out about it, and they could kill that person just because they're afraid of being caught and stuff like that. I think I'd be very, very careful about that. Now, this is for teens, this section. So in the teen dating violence thing, maybe they think that that's okay as a teen, as a peer, that you could say, hey, don't treat your girlfriend like that, or don't treat your boyfriend like that. That's abusive, right? But be extremely careful about that. You'd have to know the other person. You'd have to know how abusive they were. You know what I mean? I am talking about this firsthand because I tried to save my friend from her boyfriend many times, and this was we were actually late teens, 19 years old, and this her boyfriend was so extremely violent and abusive, to her. He was physically abusing her in every way as well as every other way. The guy was just an abuser, and he was abused as a child as well. He was our friend, and he was her boyfriend, and he would often threaten my life, and he actually beat me up a couple times, slammed my head into a wall, and was choking me, and he could have killed me. He was actually threatening to kill me and threatening my life. And so, because he felt that I was a challenge, I was a threat to him, because I was trying to protect my friend, which was his girlfriend. That was my best friend. Because I was there to try to protect her, he saw me as a threat, and so he, not just once, but many times throughout the relationship, while we were all hanging around together, and I was trying to save my friend's life, would threaten my life and physically assault me. And so you have to be extremely careful what you're doing there. Be very, very careful. Challenge his stereotyping and put downs. This is, don't laugh at jokes or comments that make fun of women or even men. Just challenge it and just, refuse to go along with put downs and name calling and all that, right? And we should be doing that anyway, in every case, right? Talk about the consequences of violence. Abusive behavior builds fear, not love. Physical and sexual assault are against the law, and I think a lot of people don't realize that. I know because, there's people out there killing their children and abusing their children. Even if they don't kill their children, they're beating their children, sending them to the hospital with broken ribs and broken bones, broken heads, abused in every way, raped and whatnot, and they think it's okay. There's so many people out there that think that it's perfectly okay to do this stuff to their families, right? So many, teens will hurt other teens and think it's just fine. And so many adults will hurt adults, their own partners, their own husbands and wives, their own partners, their own girlfriends and boyfriends, and they will think it's perfectly okay, and it's not. It's against the law. And, I'm a big proponent for human rights and child rights, and, it's against the law to abuse people. And so, these abusers out here, you're breaking the law, and I hope they catch every single one of them myself. But the whole issue is people are dying. This is extremely serious and not something to be taken lightly. And they said encourage him or her to get help, right? Let them know that it will probably happen again and maybe worse. So, give them a crisis line number to phone, or tell them, hey, I'll support you in this. You don't have to abuse your partner. There's other ways to help, to handle the situation. You could get some help, right? You might encourage them that way if they are that close of a friend to you and that, you have that relationship. Otherwise, I would say, really, if you know someone's being abused, make sure you get some help for them. Phone a crisis line, phone one of the domestic violence lines, and find out exactly how to handle it before you get involved and might maybe get yourself hurt or killed, right? Because this can happen. And we have about a minute left, so we'll have to finish this up another day. Actually, we'll finish this up Friday night. I'll be back on Friday night. Child abuse prevention and human rights abuse prevention is up to us. I'll be back on tomorrow morning with one child abuse survivor to another at 6:00 a.m. And then again on Friday as well, one child abuse survivor to another in the morning at 6 a.m. So take care of yourselves, everybody. If you need something, get a hold of me on Blog Talk Radio or Facebook. I'll be around, and take really good care of yourselves. Keep reaching out, keep looking for that help. Call a crisis line if you have to and you can't get a hold of somebody. Do the right thing, get yourself some help. You do deserve to have a good life. I don't care what anybody says. And make sure that you're not the abuser. If you're the abuser in the situation, make sure you get some help with that too, and learn how to handle your anger management and how to be good to people and be good to yourself. Right? It's so important. So take care, everybody. Have a great night. Bye bye.